Greetings and welcome to this episode of the Heal and Restore podcast with your hostess, the mostess, Cathy Boyd, and her marvelous, handsome husband,
Oh boy,
Randy Boyd.
I was waiting to see what was going to be
I
unleashed
couldn't
there.
figure it out. That was just kind of
Yeah.
a last minute thing.
I could tell.
So,
How
gotta
funny.
have fun. Well, it's the truth though.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, you always tell me
you are handsome.
I'm handsome.
It's funny to hear you say it.
Well, I
Normally we
if I
talk
got-
about our husbands that way.
Yeah,
So.
I hope so.
Yeah, we do.
Hope you do it when I'm not here too.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. So this month is Marriage Talk Month,
Yeah.
right? And today we're going to be talking about the 3 C's of a healthy marriage.
Oh, that's Cathy and Cathy.
Oh my God, you didn't just say that.
It just came to me.
You are such a Cathy cornball.
Cathy.
Okay, I can't think of the last one, but you are a cornball.
I know. That's all right.
all
3
right.
C's of a healthy marriage. Just marry me and you'll
Just
be
marry
healthy.
Cathy, you'll be happy, healthy, and alive. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
you're
what are the
still a
3
good-
C's? What are the 3 C's?
The 3 C's are communication, compromise, and commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some big words.
There's a lot of letters in those words.
There's a lot of letters in those words.
Yeah.
Which means there's a lot of action in those words.
Ooh, I like that. That's
You
good.
like that?
Very
A lot of
good.
letters equal a lot of action.
That's good. Good way to look
Right.
at it. Perfect.
So, Cathy and I always talk about communication, and we honestly do not believe, we believe that communication is one of the downfalls. As a matter of fact, 98% of marriages fail because of poor communication.
Correct.
I mean, we could spend well over an hour just talking about communication.
Yeah.
So we better not do that today.
No. Let's talk about the 3 C's.
Let's talk about the 3 C's.
So let's start with communication.
Okay,
I think it's
all
always a
right.
great place to start. So communication, I'll just lead us off here. Healthy communication in a marriage involves open, honest, and respectful exchanges between partners. It is said that it's a cornerstone for a strong relationship,
Absolutely, 100%.
helping couples navigate challenges, build trust, and deepen their emotional connection. So we're going to go over there's many healthy keys to communication.
Right.
But this podcast would go on and on and on if we hit on every one of them. So we've kind of gone through and picked out 3 or 4 of each of these areas that are truly the ones that we feel that are actually, I think they're the foundation for communication. And if we don't, it's like everything else. If we don't get that foundation set, it makes it hard for everything else to follow.
Everything else will collapse.
So these are very key elements to the foundation of communication.
Yes,
Wouldn't you say?
absolutely.
Yeah. So why don't you lead us off with the very first one?
What's the first one? What'd you say?
The first one.
What?
Lead us.
Are you saying something? Oh, it's active listening.
Oh.
I'm supposed to be really hearing what you're saying?
Yeah. Okay.
I thought you were just like, being chatty Cathy again. You got your mouth closed right now. All right, so active listening is really the most important key to communication. Believe it or not, it's not talking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, talking is just talking, but
Just a lot of chatter.
a lot of chatter. So to truly listen to your partner without active listening is truly listening to your partner without interrupting or planning your response while they are speaking. Because here's what happens.
I was good at that.
Yeah,
And I can still be pretty darn good at it.
Can be really good at it. Not pretty darn good, but really good at
Yeah,
it.
it's my downfall.
So most of us, not all, but most of us engage in conversation, listening to the other person to figure out how we can fix them.
Mm-hmm.
So we hear 1 or 2 sentences and then everything else is wah, 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 wah.
Well, and not only how to fix them, but just like we have the answer to the conversation.
And they didn't even ask us for the answer.
That's
the whole thing.
I've been so guilty for that.
Unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
So we want to listen to understand them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the important thing. And if you're thinking about other stuff, you can't be listening to understand them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we don't want to fix them. If they didn't ask to be fixed, first of all, in the general population, most of us are not in a place to be fixing anybody because we can't fix our own lives.
That was a project trying to fix you, but yeah, no, so true. We cannot fix each other. We can't barely fix ourselves, let alone
So
somebody
active
else.
listening, it's very important that we have to show that we're engaged by maintaining eye contact, right?
I see you.
Nodding and providing verbal affirmations like I understand or I see. And that's something that I think both of us, I know I do, I practice really well when we're talking with our clients, is I'm just sitting there listening to them, giving them affirmations of what they're talking about. And those are important. And then at the end of a person's conversation, in general, coaching is a little different to some aspects, but ask them, would you like some feedback? Or how can I help you? Or do you need help?
Right.
Ask some curious questions. Here's the key to active listening. Listen with curiosity, because then you can develop curious questions instead of
to respond to.
So they can respond to the questions rather than you telling them what you think they need, because you're not them. You don't know how they feel.
Right.
Right. And you don't know what they need. So quit telling people you know how they feel, and I know what you need.
Yeah. No, that's a lot of work on my part. So the next one, though,
just talking about it.
I know it can be. The next one we want to talk about is respectful expression. Now, you and I had to really work on this. When you're speaking to your partner or your spouse, make sure you're doing it in a respectful tone.
Yes.
Even when you're discussing difficult or sensitive topics, and that sometimes is hard. If you are so emotionally connected to the conversation, it's very hard to keep your emotions in check, but it's very important that you do so that the person you're speaking to can actually receive it and take it in.
Exactly.
And that's a struggle I had. It's like if you were speaking in a very strong tone or an angry tone, I was checked out.
Yeah.
I was just like, don't even know what you were saying. So it's really important that you get into the right space, mindset, tone, expression, so that they're receiving the other side of the conversation.
Exactly. And here's what happens a lot of times. Kathy and I talk about the pendulum effect. So, if you're starting this recovery journey with marriage and conversation and communication, right? Oftentimes the pendulum is slammed all the way to the left.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been there. Our conversations are harsh. It's just the way we are was what we're telling. It's just who I am. You can't change me. Yeah, you can't change me. You can be changed. And so what happens when we start speaking our truth with love, it's uncomfortable, right? So, and it's foreign, right? Because we haven't done it. A lot of people have lost their voices. And so therefore, even speaking their truth is like hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
when they do it,
woo, it goes all the way over to the front. I mean, it goes completely to the other side.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I was telling her how I felt, and I was trying to be loving, but how were you? What tone were you using?
Yeah. What words were you using?
And that's just part of the growth.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's good. It's not a bad thing.
Absolutely.
I'm the biggest cheerleader when we get through some of those things where people have to do hard things and be uncomfortable because things are changing. So the other thing too that's really important about respectful expression is, avoiding blame, accusations, or insults. That's very painful. So we have both had to learn to use the I statements for the example of I feel hurt when, instead of you always make me feel. Yeah, you can't make anybody feel a certain way.
We don't have the power to make anybody say, do, or feel anything they don't want to say, do, or feel. We're not God.
No, but it really comes down to is when we bring it back to I, it makes it so much more personal.
Absolutely.
And I know that when I have brought my statements back to an I actually can constructively think about what I'm talking about, because now it's about me. I'm not like putting the blame outwards. So it's really important to use those I statements. And it's very uncomfortable to begin with, because again, it's one of those new things that we're learning to use.
You're talking about how you feel, and people don't know how to say how they feel.
Right. And so expressing an I statement is painful, but yet rewarding at the same time.
Accusations I want you to understand, it's very important, right? Well, I asked the question, how come you always do A, B, C, or D? That's an accusational question. You're asking a question with an accusation. Do not do that.
You always.
You always, all the time. you know, for all those, you need to remove those from your vocabulary, 'cause those are big, powerful words.
Yeah.
They mean a lot. So be careful when you're asking questions. That's why you want to bring it into the I statement.
Yeah.
So never take an accusation and turn it into a question. It's a bad thing to do.
Right. It just creates more conflict.
Yes,
Is really what it comes. It's
absolutely
not just that
does.
it's a bad thing.
Well,
It will create more conflict. It will create hurt.
yeah.
And it can damage the conversation you're intending to have. It can go completely south.
Yeah, because what happens is you start accusing me, I'm gonna go on the defense.
Right. Defense starts. So yeah. And then the last thing we're going to talk about under our communication is the patience and timing. And this is
Oh,
really key. You know, choosing the right time to have a serious conversation, avoiding stressful or inappropriate moments. Be patient, allow your partner to express themselves fully and before responding. And so this having the right time is everything. We have been in situations where just a simple example is you've been out hunting the last couple weekends and I've been home by myself. My mind is like, I'm planning this and I want to do this and how about this? And so when he gets home, I'm ready to just dump everything on him. He's not ready to receive it.
no.
So I have learned that when he gets home, I need to give him his time, his space,
Mhm.
unwind, unpack, chill for a little while to have, even if it's not a serious conversation, even if it's just something I want to have a normal conversation with,
Right.
give him that space. And that's been very helpful for me as well. And, but yeah, I'm one of those that I get excited and I want to hurry up and get it out there.
Yeah, it's real important, especially for working couples too,
Oh
because,
yeah.
you know, I could tell by a phone call in the middle of the day how Kathy was gonna be when she came home, so I just gave her the time when she got and I learned to give her the time all the time when she came home from work just to chill out.
Mhm.
So, you know, when your husband or your wife walks right in the door, don't hit them with a bunch, "We need
Yeah.
to do this, we need to do," man, let them chill for a little bit because that's probably why you might be, if you are, getting some negative responses because they're dead tired and they don't even have a chance to decompress from their day
Right.
and you're smashing them with a bunch of to-dos.
Either to-dos or just conversations where they're not ready to engage
Right,
in. Yeah,
exactly,
so it's
yeah.
good. So just as a reminder, healthy communication helps build a foundation of trust, respect, and emotional intimacy, and it makes it so much easier to navigate the ups and downs of marriage. If we're in
Absolutely.
healthy communication, you know, life is going to always come at us fast, and there's always going to be something going on. But if we can develop healthy communication, those fast-paced days won't be as daunting.
An important thing I want you all to remember is this, is that you're not if you haven't been living a life, you know, married life, with good communication,
Mhm.
right? You're not gonna change overnight.
No.
It's gonna take some time because your neural pathways are just telling you this is how you're gonna respond.
Mm.
This is what you're gonna this kind of gonna react. It's gonna take time to redo those neural
Yeah,
pathways.
absolutely, that's really good. And there's no timetable either.
No,
Everybody develops it at a different time, so don't think that it's gonna be you know, a 30-day or a 6-month deal. It could take a lifeline. It's for us, it's a
it's a lot.
lifetime of commitment to make that change.
All these changes are a new way of living.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the second of our 3 Cs is compromise. So compromise in a healthy marriage involves finding the middle ground where both partners' needs, desires, and perspectives are considered and respected. It's not about one person, sorry, Randy, giving up everything or one person
You
winning.
know it's all about
Sorry,
me.
Randy. Instead, it's about the mutual understanding and cooperation to reach solutions that work for both parties.
Right.
That's me and you.
Mhm.
So here's a few ways that we can compromise in our healthy marriage. And again, there's so many of them, but we're going to just touch on a few here. And the first one is mutual respect. So sure,
Yeah.
tell me about mutual respect, honey.
Why? You never listened to me before?
Oh, it's time.
Okay.
It's time.
He listens to me all the time.
We do listen.
So
We're
mutual
better.
respect, both partners value each other's opinions and feelings, even when they differ.
Yeah, it's okay.
Respectful dialogue allows for finding common ground without feeling undermined or dismissed.
Yeah, it's okay to disagree.
It's okay to agree to disagree. An opinion is an opinion, right? There's no reason to tear your partner down because they don't agree with your opinion. but it's the compromise that you're gonna need to find
Mhm.
to come up with a solution that you can both live with, and it's not that difficult if you just
If you're open and willing to do
well,
it.
yeah, and check your pride and your ego at the door
Yeah.
when you have these conversations.
Yeah, there's times when I don't always agree with you, and
Right,
you've got some very strong opinions, and I'll just say sometimes people that have strong opinions, for the person who's hearing that strong opinion, it can be difficult to realize that their opinion does not have to become mine.
right,
And
exactly.
it's like I've had to learn to separate and just say, "Okay, I understand," or "Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I might consider that, maybe I'll look into that." And there have been times where I haven't even said those words, but I've still taken the thought
No,
and
absolutely.
thought about what was being said. Doesn't mean I have to
Th
always agree, but it means compromise is about
it's
just taking it into consideration even.
absolutely, and
Yeah.
that's I mean, with your spouse, you're gonna add a little bit of extra, dynamics in there and extra attention, but, like, even in your everyday lives with people,
Yeah.
their opinion might not match yours, and that's okay, but, oftentimes, like Kathy, I've walked away and said, I never thought about looking at it that way. I'm gonna give that some thought. Now, whether I do or not is up to me, but
Right.
at least in that way, we both win.
Well, and when I hear that from you, it's like, okay, he's not shutting me down.
Right.
I don't feel neglected. I don't feel unheard. I feel valued.
Mhm.
That my words did mean something and that he will take that into consideration. So I walk away from those conversations actually empowered.
And oftentimes, I think you'll agree with this, is that I'll come back around and says, "You know what? I think you were
Yeah,
right.
you have.
Let's do it that way."
Yeah,
So, and Kathy does the same thing.
right.
It's 50/50.
It is an empowering thing.
Right.
And then the next one is flexibility. We have to be willing to adjust our expectations or our
Absolutely.
plans for the benefit of the relationship. No one person is right and the other one's always wrong. There's got to be flexibility. So
Absolutely.
when we show the flexibility, it shows that we're prioritizing the relationship over rigid individual
Yep.
preferences. And those rigid individual preferences, they're just kind of uncomfortable and ugly
Well,
and
selfish.
selfish. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
very
another good word.
selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, being willing to be flexible and say, yeah, okay, let's do it that way. That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's one of those things you got to check your ego at the door.
Hmm.
Right. And, Kathy, one of the things Kathy and I talk about is how many times do people that are getting married sit down before they
Hmm.
get married, write out a list of their expectations and their needs, and then share them with their partner?
Right.
Right. So we oftentimes we enter into marriage with unverbalized needs and expectations,
Yes.
thinking,
Good.
well, they'll just do it. They marry me, they know who I am.
Right.
Right, so we gotta be really careful with our expectations because they will will lead to, resentments, and you
Right.
don't want resentment,
And I
so
think too, it's fair to say that, not only do we not talk about the expectations and needs going into a marriage, a lot of times we don't even know what our own expectations
ex
are.
oh,
So
man.
that's where flexibility comes in. If you're not even sure what your own expectations are, be willing to be flexible.
Yeah,
Find that common ground.
right, do you let me ask you this, if you're not flexible, how's that been working for you?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You wanna be right or you wanna be happy?
Yeah.
Real simple, right?
Rigid and unhappy is
No,
not a good
that's
place to
not
be.
good at all.
And then the other one about compromise that I like too is shared decision making.
Yes, very important.
Compromise really often requires collaborative decision making where both of us can contribute and agree on a final choice.
Yeah.
It strengthens the partnership and it reduces the resentments that you were talking about.
Mhm.
And we had something just come up this last week. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but where I had one thought, you had another thought, and your thought actually was better from a financial perspective.
Mhm.
And so it was like it all came together just fine, but it was because we shared in the decision making. We both had a voice. We both expressed our thoughts, our concerns, how we thought we could make it happen. And ultimately, it's happening and it's happening for the right
For
reasons.
the right reasons, yeah.
Yeah, so that shared decision making is really key.
And it's like, even when it comes to, like, married couples vacations, a lot of times, Kathy, we discuss our vacations, and then, um, one of us might have a different opinion, and then what I'll do, because I'm gonna go to Ephesians 5:25, where the Bible tells us husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church and Christ died for the
Mhm.
church, right? So, if I want Kathy to love me unconditionally and be by my side, I have to practice that scripture, and that is dying to self,
Right.
right? When it comes to, well, you know what? I think that'll be fun. Let's do that instead. So
Mhm.
it's talking about it, coming up with a compromise,
And sharing
and
in the
sharing,
conversation.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, let's go to let's go to Hawaii this summer, but you know what? Our next vacation, let's go to Spain.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
yeah. I knew you'd like that
Yeah,
one.
okay.
So,
So we're going to talk about, we have some examples of compromise in a marriage. And, they might seem like very normal, redundant examples, but gosh, are the things that we're doing day in and day out in our marriages. So one is household responsibilities. If one partner prefers to tidy home and the other is less concerned, they might agree on a cleaning schedule that balances both of their comfort levels.
all right.
I mean, that is just a way to find compromise.
Newsflash, husbands, you can do the dishes.
Yeah.
You can mop the floors. You can do laundry. Okay. You can cook.
Yeah.
You can do all that.
Yeah.
Okay. And for the wives, you can help in the yard work, do the garden. You can mow the grass when need be. So you have to share these responsibilities.
It's that compromise there. Another example would be financial decisions, and financial decisions are sometimes very hard topics to talk about. But one might want to save while the other wants to invest in a hobby. That happens in our house. Uh, and it reverses itself back and forth. But they could agree on a budget that allocates a portion of the savings and another to personal interests. Bottom line, it comes down to sitting down, having a conversation, and finding compromise in that.
That's
Yeah.
kind of what we had to do this last week.
And same thing, social
Oh, this
activities.
is big.
One partner wants to go out and the other prefers staying in. Alternate between outings, quiet nights at home, and accommodate for both of you.
Well, let's go even outside of that realm. Okay, there's something you and I do very, very well, right? I like to cycle. I cycled a lot, rode my bike across America and so on and so forth. Kathy doesn't want to get on those two skinny wheels,
Too skinny.
but she supports my cycling.
Mhm.
And then the cycling group we had in La Quinta, those guys, we would go out oftentimes, go for a weekend somewhere,
Or dinners or
dinners. Kathy always participated
Yeah.
in everything that other than the cycling part of it, right?
didn't want that.
And she was actually more received than I was.
Well, you were there all the time.
I
I
was
was
there
I
all the
was the
time.
new kid on the
Yeah,
block.
no kidding. Yeah, I like Kathy.
So yeah. No,
She's
but
prettier than me, I guess.
yeah, that's true.
So, that and like I say, the hunting and the fishing, you don't mind fishing. You'll do that a little bit now
Right.
and then. But the hunting stuff, you go camping.
Yeah, no, you just
Yeah.
gotta find the
Yeah,
compromise so
yeah,
that each
absolutely.
person is being fulfilled in their needs and their desires.
And then again, husbands, we have to die to self
Yeah.
once in a while and
Right.
make our wife happy.
Yeah. So there are benefits, though, a lot of benefits of compromise. The biggest one, it strengthens the relationship when both parties are willing to work together to
yep.
prioritize the relationship. You're investing in your relationship.
Yep,
And I'm not talking
100%.
financially,
No.
I'm talking emotionally when you can
Mm-mm.
find compromise. We can build trust
Yeah.
and respect. It shows each partner the value and respect that each other needs and desires. And that's kind of what I was talking about, being able to meet the desires and needs of each other it's very important.
The key word was value.
Yeah.
It really is. The values, it shows that you value your partner,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last one that compromise benefits is it's the reducing of conflict.
Right.
I do not like conflict. I find it much easier to compromise.
And run.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about here right now.
Okay, I'll compromise.
Compromise.
Okay.
I find it much easier to compromise to avoid conflict, and not in a bad way.
No.
It's just like a lot of times my way of conflict, it was because I was being selfish, to be honest with you.
Well, again, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Right.
You know?
So, reducing conflict, it helps prevent the power struggles that and ongoing disagreements by finding common ground. And so that's something that's really important when we're looking at compromise.
And again, you got to burn the ego. Let the ego,
Hmm.
your pride and your ego go at the front door.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So those are just some of the things that are part of compromise, but compromise is an ongoing process in a
Yes.
marriage. It's not like a one and done. It requires both partners to remain open, flexible, and willing to adapt to circumstances and needs as they evolve. You might be on a roll where everything's just fine, and then there might be a bump in the road, and
Right.
you'll have to compromise.
That's gonna happen.
And that's part of life. That's part of the journey and part of the journey of marriage
Life
as
would be
well.
boring if everything was
Oh,
peachy
yeah.
keen all the time.
Yeah, no, it's good. And then the last one we want to talk about, the last C is commitment. So, commitment in a healthy marriage is the dedication and willingness to invest time, effort, and energy into nurturing your relationship,
Yep.
regardless of the challenges or obstacles that we may arise, because we're going to have them. They're not going to be far and few between. We might have them day in and day out. We might go for a time where there isn't a bunch of challenges or obstacles, but then all of a sudden they hit us. So we have to be willing to be healthy in that commitment to our marriage. And it goes beyond just being faithful as well. It involves actively choosing to prioritize and work on the marriage every day.
Right.
We have to invest in our marriage every day. It could be as simple as an I love you, leaving a little love note, making breakfast for each other, taking turns with the kids, getting them ready for school, whatever it is. It requires us to make marriage part of our everyday work.
Two of the things that I used to do, and I need to start doing it again. One is little sticky notes.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Sneaky
you.
notes or sticky?
Sticky
Oh,
notes.
so like I said, sneaky
Sneaky
notes.
notes.
Well, they were
Sticky
sneaky
notes.
though.
They were sneaky. I love you because, and then I write because why I loved
Right.
her, and I would put them on her seat or on her steering wheel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I would do, she loved this, is that she liked to take boiled eggs to work. So I get up in the morning and I would help her get ready, and I do the boiled or the hard boiled eggs, right? And what I would do is there's 3 of them. I would draw faces on each one of them, and then I can't remember what I would write, but I'd write like, some funny sayings on
Yeah,
each one
they
of
were.
the eggshells, "You crack me up, Kathy," or something like that. And she didn't know I did until she got to work, and
Yeah.
then, it was really good for her.
That was
So,
fun. So part of some aspects of commitment, one is it's emotional and physical fidelity. Staying faithful and loyal to your partner, both emotionally and physically, is a fundamental aspect of commitment. It means not engaging in behaviors that would betray your partner's trust.
I want you all to hear this. This is really important. We ran across this several times, and I, for one, in 2004, I had the affair, but it started with an emotional
Hmm.
affair.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as if you're being emotionally unfaithful to your wife, you're committing infidelity,
Hmm.
right? Your wife is your number one. Your husband is your number one. That's it. There's no such thing as what do they call that friendship? Platonic.
Platonic friendship.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. If you're married, it's okay to have guy friends and girlfriends, but your communication is with guys for the men, and women is with the women.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Kathy and we both have some. I have female friends. Kathy has male friends. We know who they are. Is we talk, but there's no private text. There's no private phone calls. Nothing's hidden. I mean, Kathy, you guys might not like this, but Kathy has full access to all my social media accounts, my phones, text, everything. And if you think that's wrong, then you need to take a hard look at your morals and ethics.
Yeah. Basically, if you're in a committed relationship, you're committed to that relationship.
right.
That means everything about that
Everything.
relationship is exposed.
Absolutely, 100%.
Exposed. So the other thing too is prioritizing the relationship. This
right.
is really important, is making sure you're putting your marriage and your partner's needs ahead of other interests and activities.
Right.
It means making the relationship a priority in your life, even when it's not always convenient. And that's the
right.
key. You're going to have times where things are going to come up and you're going to like, oh, this is not what I wanted. I wanted to do this today, but I need to do this because I committed to this marriage and I committed to, go this weekend up north or whatever that might be. But you have to make your relationship your priority.
Husbands, if you want your wives to prioritize you,
Mhm.
then I preach this all the time, and I'm gonna say it again. Ephesians 5:25 says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church.
Right.
And Christ gave up his life for the church. So husbands, sometimes we have to give up what we want to do, because if we want our wives to prioritize us
Yeah.
and do what we want, it's a 50-50 deal.
Yep. And it goes for the women as well,
Both,
Yeah,
absolutely,
absolutely.
100%.
And part of that is talking and communicating about those needs and
Yeah,
desires.
100%.
We don't have, we always talk about the crystal ball. Crystal ball's cracked. Don't rely on your crystal ball. Rely on your mouth. Rely on the words that come out of your mouth, and have a conversation so that you're not assuming things and you're putting your marriage first.
Kathy's got really good about pushing me for details.
Mhm.
Sometimes it drives me crazy. Sometimes I go, man, this is stupid. I've already talked about this, but she needs to know because of our schedules. And so wives, you can also, and you're not nagging at your husbands if you need to find out some information.
Yeah, have that conversation. And then the other thing about commitment is we have to persevere through the challenges. We're always going to have challenges. We're going to
Yes.
face difficulties, and commitment involves sticking together through the hard times, whether it might be financial stress, it could be personal loss, which we have experienced,
Yeah.
disagreements, which we have
Right.
experienced. But it's not about giving up when things get hard. It's like fight harder,
Yeah.
fight harder and persevere
Ki-
through that.
Kathy and I have been married for 41 years. Do you think it's always been
Oh, yeah.
roses, unicorn pea, bubbles, and rainbows flying everywhere? No.
Yeah.
It's marriage is work.
Yeah.
You're two different people. You fall in love. You don't know the depth
Two
of
different people from two different upbringings that have been generations upon generations passed down to each other.
exactly.
So
So you don't truly
you're
know.
going to have challenges.
You don't truly know your spouse until you get married.
Yeah.
And then you start learning about it. And you got to get back to, why did I fall in love with Kathy?
Right.
Right? Why did she fall in love with Randy? What are those good points?
Mhm.
Right? And then if the bad things come up, you need to be able to communicate about them and get help to work through them.
Yeah.
You can't go around it. You
Yep.
can't forget it. You can't move on until you've worked through it.
Yeah.
And that means you got to dive right in the mud pile.
Yep. And sometimes it's dirty, but that's
Right.
okay. And then we have a couple more under commitment, because these are really important too, is forgiveness and understanding.
Absolutely.
We have to be willing to forgive mistakes, big mistakes, little mistakes, misunderstandings, whatever it is, but we have to be able to move forward and not hold any grudges. That's key to be able to have a healthy, committed relationships. It involves understanding that no one is perfect, and learn to let go so that we don't build those resentments.
Kathy had a very good reason not to forgive me. Very good reason. But she did, because she got back to who Randy was,
Hmm.
right? She had a divine intervention from God, but it's important. I mean, your marriage is one bad thing. Don't let it spoil
Right.
the whole marriage, because look at all the good that might have happened.
Yeah, I'll just share. I mean, we may have shared this in the past too, but when we went through that whole dark season prior to your recovery and with that affair and your addiction, all I saw was that 5 years of a dark
Right.
space. And you were great. You were the one that reminded me it wasn't always dark. And so that's where that go back to the beginning, go
Right.
back to what made you fall in love, go back to the beauty of what that relationship was, why it brought you together.
I want to say this. Kathy and I are pro-marriage, and we believe that any marriage can work out if both partners want it to happen and both partners are willing to do the work, right? But we also know that there's some out there that are just too far broken, too
Mhm.
far gone, and you know, God works miracles. And we've had people
We've
sit
seen
on
it.
our couch with divorce papers,
Yeah.
and they've come out on the other side.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then the final one under commitment, which this just seems like common sense, but it's interesting in working with clients. Sometimes it's not so common.
No,
And that's sharing responsibility, being equally invested in the success and well being of your marriage. Both partners take responsibility for their actions and their role in maintaining that healthy relationship.
eh, that's funny because oftentimes we have a couple couples. he's the one with the problem. That's why I'm coming.
Right.
Right? He's the one that's got the problem. She's the one that's got the problem. I don't have a problem. And then usually a couple of weeks, 3 weeks into sessions, they're going, I thought it was him that had the problem, but guess what? I got
I got
problems
stuff
too.
too.
So don't be pointing, if you're pointing a finger at your spouse, there's 3 more pointing right
Yeah.
back at you.
Yeah. No, we found that early on in our recovery journey when we had
Yeah.
to Celebrate Recovery Ministry. We had several people coming to support their significant other, only to find out that they too had some things to
Right,
work on. So,
exactly.
and there's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, if we're
No,
if we're
not at all.
investing in a relationship, I want to share in that. You know, it's like your recovery. I'll just, you know, when you first started out, you were 2 years into it before I started doing anything. And I'm glad that I sat and watched for 2 years because I knew what it was gonna take to make our marriage stronger.
Right,
I had to share in the responsibility of my part, and
right,
then I had to
exactly.
share in the
It is right
responsibility
there.
of our
Yeah,
part
right.
in the marriage, and so it was so necessary for me to do what I had to do to take care of me.
A lot of people might not agree with this. Marriage is 50-50. Period, end of conversation.
Mhm.
But you're 100% responsible. 100% responsible for your 50%.
Right. Yeah.
It has to be that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So good. So here's some benefits of a committed marriage. It builds trust and security, which
Mhm,
we know. It strengthens bonds, which I
mhm.
can honestly say yes.
Absolutely.
And it encourages personal growth, which is
Yeah.
what we're talking about. You know, your commitment to your recovery was a commitment to our marriage.
Right, exactly.
And as a result of that, it encouraged personal growth within you, which turned around and encouraged personal growth within myself.
Right,
So we can motivate each other
exactly.
in that, and that's what builds a strong
It it
relationship as
it
well.
and the thing of it is, you gotta remember, as long as you're both on the same railroad track, going the right direction, the same
Mhm.
direction, right? There's times when I'm ahead of Kathy, there's times when she's ahead of me
Yeah.
in our growth. That doesn't mean that I'm worse off because Kathy's ahead of me or vice versa. It's just where we're at on our spiritual walk and on our recovery walk.
Right.
You have to understand that and
Yeah.
you have to accept that.
Yeah. And basically what it comes down to is that a commitment in a marriage is about being all in.
All in,
Dedicated
100%.
to maintaining, nurturing, and growing the relationship, even when it's challenging,
And it will be
and it will
challenging.
be. But it's a mutual pledge to love, support, and honor each other through all of life's ups and
Yeah.
downs. And I can honestly say, in our 41 years, the struggles that we've had, the things that we've experienced, the good and the bad, I'm grateful for every one of them
Well, yeah,
because each one of them was a lesson. And so I think if you open up your eyes to the 3 C's of marriage as lessons of life, jump in and communicate well, find compromise, and commit to your marriage, you're going to find the ups and downs are going to be so beneficial.
Kathy said this. I'm grateful Randy's an
Mm.
recovering
Yeah, I did
alcoholic.
say that.
Right? She has no problem saying that, and I understand why. And here's the thing that people might not understand. I'm grateful for the abuse I had in my life. I'm
Mhm.
grateful for being a recovered alcoholic because all those things, good and bad, and believe me, the horrific abuse I went through
Right.
for a long time, I didn't think this way, but they made me who I am today.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
brought the best. I turned my I turned my sorrow into joy, and then my joy turns to sorrow by helping other people.
Yeah, no, it's good. It all brings it out. So we are done covering our three
Yeah,
C's
yeah,
of a healthy
yeah.
marriage. We hope that you got something out of this. Want to just talk about a couple things just as reminders is that we are on social media, both on
Yep.
Instagram as well as Facebook under Heal and Restore Counseling. We are also still in our 2024 campaign. We offer a 45-minute, no cost to you coaching discovery session. We like to call it a discovery session. And I'm going to be honest, we've had several clients this last year that we are so grateful for that we have built very good
Right.
relationships with, turned them into a life group. I mean, there's just so many opportunities when you decide to commit to your marriage or commit to your individual
Right.
health. We also have our current book out, How to Heal and Restore Your Marriage, is still available on Amazon. You can also go to our website at healandrestorecounseling.com. And if you're interested in a 45-minute coaching, free coaching consultation or discovery session, please go to healandrestorecounseling.com. There's a link there where you can click on it, send us your information, and we'll reach out to you to schedule a time. If you're local to us here in Arizona, we like to do it in person.
Yep.
If not, it can be done via Zoom. We
Anywhere in
currently,
the world.
yeah, we currently have clients in 1, 2, 3, 4 different states right now. So we can definitely help you no matter where you are, and we would be more than happy to do that. So give us a shout out, check out our website. If you know of anybody that is struggling, send them our way as well.
And if you're listening to this podcast or on YouTube, either one, do us a favor. It just takes a couple seconds of your time. Click the like, the follow, and subscribe button for us. Okay, please do that. It's going to help us monetize stuff, but also very important, share this podcast to anybody that might need this information.
Yeah, absolutely. So we hope you got something out of this. We're excited. We've got one more this month coming up on Marriage Talk, and we have another couple that we're going to be interviewing and have. So we'll have a guest next week.
Yep.
Or the following week. Yeah, the following week. So thank you. I think that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's it.
I got it all.
Okay. So remember this, if nobody tells you they love you today, Randy does.
Cathy does.
But more importantly, God does. Be blessed, everybody. Have a fabulous week.
Be blessed.